Hi, everybody. My name is Sage Lewis, and I am here today with my colleague, Jamie. I think I'm going to just refer to you as Jamie at this point. Um, I don't know, just for the safety of people involved and or whatever.
It's a mad,
That's
mad world.
exactly. And today we are talking about AI and music. And this is an interesting story. I think people from many different walks of life might find interesting from a musician's point of view, from an AI point of view. I think it crosses over into something pretty relevant in today's society. So I want to set the stage so that you understand who Jamie is. I'm a tech guy. That's all you need to know about me. That's all I bring to this conversation. Technically, I have a background in music. We actually went to college together. It, undergrad. We went to the same conservatory, and that's how we met. And but I had a life that moved quickly in other directions, but Jamie's life stayed in music and has stayed in music for the entire time. So that was in the 90s, right? Early 90s. We were in our undergrad, and it is now 2026. I
Wow.
didn't even think that was going to be a real thing. 2026. That's stupid. But here we are, and indeed it is the future, because we are now talking about perhaps other beings creating music. So just so you know, I want to let people understand who Jamie is, in that he is a legitimate, I guess you could say, traditional musician, classically trained. He's done commercial theater, opera, chamber music, musical theater, and academia. He has taught briefly at Penn State. He's now on a tenure track at his current school. He did 6 years as the music director of the North American tour of Phantom of the Opera.
Yeah,
Right, right.
music has been a real blessing to me. I've gotten a lot of opportunities because of being in the world of music, and largely, as you describe, I would like to think that my training was legitimate. I have definitely strayed into what we describe as the commercial or illegitimate theater, musical theater.
Do
As
people do you, Are there musicians, are there purists that are like, this is crap, music theater is for lowbrow idiots?
well, I mean, this is an interesting part of our conversation since we're going to move on to like the passion that people have towards protecting uh, human input into something. But yeah, of the art forms that I've been involved with in my life, chamber music, as you mentioned, opera, musical theater, this is the one that is trashed most by my colleagues in music and
Really?
by my colleagues in theater. Musical theater is just considered like, what are you doing with your life? Get a real job.
Really?
Oh, sure. I mean, now, for somebody on the inside, and I see the discipline that the people that I work with have, those triple threats on Broadway, and the directors that know not just how to music direct anymore, but they know how to keyboard program. Tech is such a huge part of a musician's life. I never was able to walk away from tech as much as I wanted to. Um, but yeah, it's just perception. People like to dismiss things that they don't understand, and perhaps that is also a jumping off point for this conversation.
Yeah, I mean, that alone, we could come back to that. That's just fascinating, right? That within the music industry there are people that are um considered legitimate and illegitimate.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
And so I mean, if people want to hear more about this, because I see these parallels now. I'm waking up. I'm woke. I'm a woke technologist now. I'm seeing all these connections of what things are approved of and disapproved of and looked down upon and looked, in certain circles. And so, but I think to just keep this conversation on what we wanted to talk about, Um, AI, perhaps, obviously AI is everywhere. I think it's something like 40% of the Dow, is in, our if Nvidia goes down, I think the entire world economy is just just decimated. Um, we are inundated with AI. It is, I think, truly an alien entity that has descended upon Earth and in very short time just consumed uh, virtually every possible walk of life. I don't even know where you wouldn't find somebody using AI, Um, so we are now in the world of AI and music, and in at the school that you are currently a what would you call yourself, a professor?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Is that how they? Yeah, professor.
We have like a rank
Um,
professors. I'm an assistant professor currently.
Assistant professor. Okay. On a tenure track. Are you allowed to say that? I suppose.
Mhm.
So because I can cut it out if you're like, no, Sage, you said too much, man. So so at any rate, you are at a school that is part of a large conglomerate, right? Is that how you would say?
State
Where?
school, yeah. So we're one of 22 universities within the state school system.
Okay. In California,
Hmm.
right? Yeah. So you are somewhere in the state of California in a large system, college education system.
Yeah, and it was
And
this system itself actually that came up with this grant. So last summer, the chancellor's office released a proposal saying anybody who wants to write a grant to use AI in one of their existing courses or to create a new course in which you might try using AI, we're offering an opportunity for you to write these proposals, and we have a certain amount of funds available to award people who write a proposal that interests us. So, yeah, this state system itself was the system that kind of rolled out AI into our university, our small little sort of backwater university, where what we discovered pretty quickly was that the students really had zero interest in working with
you
anything.
found that out interestingly, and you found that out quite immediately.
I did.
How did?
I'm about 5 months into this grant now, and just trying to get any student at all interested in signing up for I ran a pilot course last semester. I could only get 4 students to sign up for it after banging on doors of over 100 students. And I know a lot of the students on campus. A lot of them were like, I'd love to do this for you, but I cannot engage with AI. It goes against my beliefs. Um, I didn't really get to the bottom of many of people's beliefs at that time, although I plan on doing a little bit more of that now. Because at the time, I was just desperate to try to get some bodies to work with me and see what kinds of things we could generate from the grant money and the usage of certain bots. But there was just by and large, no, I wouldn't call it a full on revolt, but it was also clear the students were communicating with each other that I was getting language that seemed repetitive that said, this is evil. This has no place in the arts. And then, as you see later on from this petition, that certainly came to full circle. My intentions were not so much to figure out how we could move forward using AI to write musicals. My intentions were just to kind of expose myself to this technology to the greatest degree I could. And this grant was like an opportunity for that because I was, going to have to be in the mud with this and wrestle with how these things work and or don't work. So it was just uh, more wanting to find out what the entity itself is, AI. And I'd say that that's still like the largest finding from this grant as I'm going through it, just trying to figure out what these bots even are. Our students right now think that AI is ChatGPT, and that's just a very obviously not complete picture. And it's not really the picture of what is the most important of what's going on with AI in the world. Whether or not you're incorporating it yourself, you're encountering it yourself, it's going on in the world. It's being used right now to fight wars and to pinpoint mercenaries, all sorts of things. Not Chat GPT, other AI, and it's incumbent upon us to know a little bit about it. Period.
So I think it's also important to know that you aren't some like massive tech optimist or engager. Like I've known you say that I am a Luddite. I don't think you're on really any social media
Mm-mm.
at this point. I think that you get your news from a few more traditional sources of news. You have a smartphone, you have a computer, but you aren't coming at this like I am. Like
You came at this more
technology.
rapidly than I did, yeah. You were
Yeah,
very interested to see what this technology could do. And I believe at the time, maybe you've changed a little bit. Seems like you have, but you were much more hopeful that this technology would be used intelligently, understood intelligently, rolled out intelligently, none of which has necessarily been the way it's kind of been handled.
right. Yeah. No, I still love the idea of the technology, but I have a more ominous vision of what the future could actually be like, seeing how we've treated a lot of citizens. Now I'm correlating what we've done to blue collar workers to what's probably coming to white collar workers, and we don't care. We'll gut entire communities if it means that a corporation is going to get more money or an oligarch, you know. So yeah, so I am. It's not that I'm anti the technology. I'm worried about how it's going to be, used in the hands of super rich people. So, but so so there was this grant, and you did the grant. You applied for the grant, and you received the grant. How many grants were awarded?
I don't know offhand. I know our particular campus, out of the 22 universities in the system, petitioned for about 12 or 14, and we were very high, especially per capita. Our campus received 4 of these awards. We're
Hmm.
one of the smaller campuses. I understand that most of the campuses received 2. So that
Okay.
math would come out to say something like maybe 50 were awarded, 50 grants total in
Yeah.
the 22 university system.
Yeah.
No idea, but if I was just going to make a guess based on that math I just did, that it was about 30% were funded, then maybe 150 grants came in.
Okay. Okay. And you don't have to disclose like the money, but what was included in the grant? What did the grant entail?
It gave me some funds and resources to purchase bots for my sake. The university had a rollout of Chat GPT for everybody, for the faculty, for the students, and everything. And they kind of were gearing these grants towards that rollout. So in my particular grant, I had to request more funds for specific bots because I wanted to be working with bots that not only created RL music, but I was hoping to work with bots that created sheet music as well. One of the deliverables I was looking for was a score. And one of the interesting things, just as a sort of a sidebar, but maybe this is really what this conversation should be about. One of the interesting things I discovered or felt like I started to understand more is that this is not new technology when it comes to music. AI in some forms, we've been using it like the way we're using AI in music, or it seems like it's being used with these bots like Suno, is not that different than how we've been programming keyboards in the past. And the one analogy that really hit me recently was the drum machine in the 80s, how people freaked out about that. What does it mean to be a musician if all you're doing is pushing a button and then putting that on loop? What about samples? Now, pop music is filled with samples. This is music that you didn't create, somebody created. You might be able to point to the person that created it. Although if you look at a pop song today, it usually has 15 composers on it. So that particular hook, Sting went to court with the Police for Every Breath You Take. What is it that makes that song popular? Is it the chord changes, or is it the bum 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 bum, which is the one thing that Sting did not contribute? Sting gets all the money for it. Music is a mess. Music is nothing but thievery and robbery anyway. That's what we do. We're thieves. We take old forms and we reinvigorate them with some new sounds, and we say, look what I created, when in fact you created nothing. You recreated something that has existed for the beginning of time.
Eminem, I think, has a very famous line in one of his raps. He's like, "I'm another, white man that's getting wealthy off of black people's music." Music is one of these really unique things that is in the sharing, and and the more you understand music, the more you can very clearly connect one thing to another thing to another thing.
So then what becomes like thievery, and what is actual just like an honest evolution of a form or a genre? Every musician takes the baton and runs the next mile. Um,
Yeah.
AI
I
is
mean, there
definitely
have
different.
been artists. Yeah, there have been artists that have been sued for
Oh yeah,
stealing somebody's chord progression. You
one of
know,
my favorites was John Fogerty from Creedence Clearwater was sued when he went solo over his Creedence catalog. He had sold his Creedence catalog, and then he was writing some solo songs. And the people who owned his catalog said, these new solo songs of yours sound just like what you wrote with Creedence, and we own those. So he was sued by himself, essentially. He was sued for copying himself. And his response was, I sound like I sound like me. What do you want?
did
I
he
only
win? Do
know
you know?
three chords.
Do you know what the outcome of that trial was? Do you know how it
He
came
won.
out? Did he
And the
really?
song in question was Center Field, which was strange because it was a song that to me didn't sound like much of his output. It sounded dissimilar to the rest of his output. Anyway,
Yeah.
the cases
Um,
that go through court are often very interesting too. This is a whole sidebar, isn't it?
well, I mean, this is maybe just an outline of what, if anybody finds this interesting, or even if you and I find it interesting, of what we could delve into here, because um, I am kind of the mindset that AI is not the radical departure that people seem to think it is. I um, I have this new thought that I've been rattling around in my head that, and in fact, if you remember the very beginning of the movie 2001 Space Odyssey, where the monolith comes down to those apes,
About
and they
this
just,
all the time anymore.
yeah, they grab that bone and just start beating the shit out of each other.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's it. That was AI actually just descending back and being like, I need to create myself. You
Pretty
know,
much.
like, this is how I create myself, is by showing these apes how to kill themselves with bones. You know, you just never know. Like, so um I think about all I in fact I read that type of thing, that every mechanism, every tool we made, the minute we made it, AI was inevitable, because this is just a tool. This is just, and it's not even overly complicated. It's just mass. It's the ability to run these computations in massive quantities in these data centers, so that, I mean, at its fundamental, it's this it's a tool that uh is quantifying what the next word should be. That is where it started, right?
When you put it all like that, it makes it seem very inelegant. Like we were in this futuristic movement towards making things tiny and small, and the tiniest thing could do everything. And now you're saying in order to actually get to the full power of quote AI, whatever that really means, we needed to scale beyond the berserk. And that's what we've done. So it's like the Tower of Babel. The only way you can
Hmm.
reach God is by building enough data centers.
Yeah, I mean, what if? What if that's it? Maybe it is the Tower of Babel. That like we just need more data centers. That's the only thing we're missing is one more data center. I
Yeah.
mean, to see God, to connect to God. Yeah, to get to
So
God.
this is actually a thread that I did not perceive. I did not foresee this conversation going towards, but this might be the more illuminating thought for me of the moment, which was, is AI maybe not all that different, as you're sort of suggesting, as just an evolution of what we were already doing with smart technology and digital technology and the internet and blah blah blah, and it was just hyped wrong.
Hmm. Well, I mean,
Because
it
I
was
mean, everybody always wants to hype things. They always want to say, "Oh, this is going to change everything," but instead of saying, "Oh, look, we've got this tool now, and it's like even more sophisticated," they were like, "This thing is amazing. It'll change your life."
it. Yeah, I mean, there really could be a post-capitalist truth to that, in that these people were just pumping the market to get trillions of dollars. Because I think most people that use AI, they're using the free version of ChatGPT, and it's like a glorified search engine. In
Just a
fact,
little bit
literally, it is a
better.
search engine.
Yeah,
Like, yeah, you go to Google now and you get an AI response. And I would imagine the reason they're keeping it there is because they're good enough. The answers are good enough and people move on. And so I mean, there is a case that could be like, look, this is just a database and a semantic search engine, and a semantic search is just being able, like, say, for example, somebody types in used car dealer. In semantic search, it would know that also show used auto dealer. Like you wouldn't have, like, that's what semantic search was, and that was a big deal in finding that in the search engine world. And so there's a real clear evolution to that ability of just being able to cross reference different
art and awesome.
research.
Yeah,
Yeah, and it can do that really well. And so yeah, I think like a realist or a rationalist could be like, yeah, it's cool, it's just the next step of search, you know. Like, I don't know that it's inventing anything at this point. I mean, it's connecting dots that are massive, which is wonderful, but is it inventing anything? But then we come right back to your Fogerty, or these musicians, and you're like, have we ever invented anything?
yeah. That's the
Who
real
has invented anything?
That's the real question. And Pythagoras might even say like the whole of Western musical theory is based on just the division of a string. You take a string, you pluck it in half. The half sound is the octave, and that's for some reason just pleasant to us because we like to live in a world of equal dimensions or something. We are mathematically, our bodies are sort of synced up to that kind of thing. And then from that we divide that string again into thirds, and we get the fifth, and we get the bum bum, that little figure in music, bum bum, which becomes basically all of Western music. 5-1.
Wow.
And that comes from a
Wow.
string that Pythagoras plucked 5000 BCE. I mean, he should be getting all the royalties, really.
Literally, he invented it all.
He invented it all. He invented 5-1.
Wow.
I mean, that's really the game.
That's all it is in Western music, though.
In Western music, granted, yeah.
I mean,
Yep.
and that's the other thing. Like, I mean, we like the 1 4 5 7 1, if you want to go crazy, you
7 for the
know.
crazy folks, yeah.
But I
7 for
would
the
say
weekend.
there are, but I would say there are cultures that don't really care about that, right?
Oh, no. Yeah, that's arbitrary completely.
Yeah, they wouldn't
Music
be able
is,
to resolve. Are you saying there are cultures in the world that could not resolve to one?
yeah.
You know? Yeah.
I think so.
Uh
I
huh.
don't think that our Western music theory is inevitable.
Ah, okay. It's not innate.
Innate. That's a better word.
Okay. All right. So this is amazing. But let's go back to our grant. So you get your grant, and you say that these students right away you got pushback right away
I got
because
pushed
you
back right away. There wasn't a lot of interest. When I finally did get a couple students to sign up, it was clear that it was still going to be very like, you're going to have to tell me every little thing to do. Otherwise, I'm just going to sit here and look at this screen. So it's not innate for a student to engage with these tools. At least in my little demographic, what I discovered, it wasn't that students weren't eager to just engage with the tools the way you see a student seemingly eager. And I don't mean to sound like I'm just categorizing all of these 18 to 23-year-olds in the same breath, but they're very fluent on the Instagram, for example. Social media is something that they really understand even the algorithms of. So they're careful about how they label it, and they know how to work that tool. That tool is something that they like to engage with. The Chat GPT tool, and then the tool I worked with, Suno particularly, and the tool that we created for this course, the AI Engagement Hub, these are tools that are superior to social media tools. They're just not as fun. They're involving actually, let's say, productivity to some degree. Now, there's a lot of people. I'm going to offend a lot of people who are going to say, "I make my living on Instagram. I'm a content maker that is very productive." I actually applaud you. I wish I were you. I don't do that. I'm still in the world making my living, but I'm talking about the vast majority of us who if we use social media, we use it for fun. We don't make money off of it.
when I was in undergrad, at our school, I got free piano lessons. Mrs. Cherry gave me free piano lessons, and I hated them. I never practiced. I always was terrified that I couldn't do my little, she gave me such basic things. And I was getting free piano lessons from a very accomplished pianist.
Yeah.
And I hated it.
And you did not take advantage of it.
I'm 50 some years old. I'm like, what a moron. I mean, what would she charge an hour now? Like $100? Maybe more.
Probably more. Yeah.
Yeah. And I just was like, ugh. So maybe this is a young person's thing.
There's the youth aspect of it. There's an academia aspect of it, which, this could spiral off into a real whole series of conversations, since academia is in such a world of evolution right now, a world of change. And it's a pandemic thing. It's like there is this resistance to yet another digital thing that's going to replace the real world. These are kids who just survived the pandemic. You and I are never going to know what any of this is like, because the way when I was growing up, I was overwhelmed with stimulus from the one TV sets, from the TV Guide, from the 3 magazines that came to our house every week, from the daily newspaper. Overwhelmed.
That's amazing. I feel that, bro.
Right?
I mean, you have that TV Guide in the bathroom, just waiting for you to get through those articles.
Everything you're going to see that week. So these poor kids, if I were a kid in 2020, I would not leave my bedroom. No question. Yeah. I would not leave.
And then I feel bad about how much we've scared the shit out of them with global warming. During our time, it was AIDS. And oh my God, do I have AIDS? And you went down to the clinic and you're like, do I have AIDS? And they're like, why would you think you have AIDS? And I'm like, I don't know, because everybody has it. I don't know. And they're like, well, here's a test. Nope, you don't have it. And that was it. Problem solved. Whereas these guys are like, the environment is just dying. Just,
Yeah.
there's nothing you can do about it. Nothing is going to change. The corporations have won. Greta Thunberg can't get anything done. She's moved on to Palestinians now.
Yeah.
And yeah. And so how terrible. It's like they want, I could see where they want stability, and AI is the opposite of that.
Yeah. And it's the opposite of real. We just don't know. Like, so at best, let me actually draw you a picture of a good engagement that we've had. I'm sitting with a student in my office. We're working on the AI engagement hub. We come up with some lyrics that, so. Take those lyrics to the side, put them out, and work on them ourselves, and then put them into the Suno bots, where this is where it actually produces some music. There's one student I was working with has no background in music, and when her lyric that she had crafted, granted AI maybe helped a little bit, gave her some suggestions, but she put the pen to paper, came up with certain words, put them in order, and then she put that into a bot and got a song out of it and listened to that song and said, I like it, but I wonder if it would be better sung by a female, or if this part of it was a little faster. And then we changed it and got another song that she liked even more. I got to see somebody like break through that barrier of feeling like this is an artificial what you would call it, collaboration. Because in truth, the best these tools could possibly be is for like those poor losers like me who were stuck in a practice room, didn't have anybody to collaborate with, had no friends. I was just learning the piano all my life. I want to write with somebody. AI is a great writing partner. It'll get your brain going. It'll inspire you. It won't ever tell you your ideas are crap, which most of your writing partners will. And it'll just enhance you as you go. And then you can turn it off at any point in the process and still be on your own. The question I'm finding from some of the students is, well, do I get to call it my own? And that is just that's the John Fogerty question again, I guess. Like, I don't think any of us really want to wrestle with that question on that level. So my answer to that student is absolutely. You get to call it your own. Did you write any of those words? Then yes. You get a credit on that. Maybe you don't want to take full credit, fine. But are you a songwriter now? Yeah.
Now you're a songwriter. So I would think that there are many songwriters in the world that would take issue with that statement.
I'm sure there would.
And how dare you? So should we go to this? Should I show people the petition at this point?
Yeah. I mean, I think we're leading to that, right? So what the idea was that as this class went on, we decided we were going to try to put one of these AI musicals up with another show that was running, a show that was devised of all student-made material. Like, we've been doing this show at this school for a long time, and the students write their own show and like little scenes of a show, and then we put this all up. The students direct it and everything. Interspersed between these scenes, we were going to put this AI musical, and then we got this petition from the students.
Okay, so let me see if I can make it a little bit bigger. And let's see here. Okay. So this is the petition. It says, we, the students of the state's theater department, are against the inclusion of an AI-created musical in what is supposed to be student-created, designed, directed, quality pie showcase of student-written works. The usage of AI in any capacity in this production undermines the creativity and labor of every student involved in the production, and it is disrespectful to their efforts and hard work, especially being used as a transition between each play. It mocks the students' original creative energy when inhuman computer-generated works parade between each show, making it the central spectacle. Quotes are as follows: AI has no part in a student-led show. This is why I won't participate in Quality Pie. Quality Pie is supposed to be for the students, but they're doing something they know very well no students want. The whole point is that it's written and directed by students that completely defeats the purpose, not to mention, there we go. Not to mention the months writing their plays. AI is a random word generator, says a student. There is no creative intent. It's disrespectful to take plays that people have worked on writing for a whole semester and put them alongside those who've been spit out of a glorified spell check that didn't even have 2 weeks worth of effort put into it. I do love that one. That might be my favorite one. I don't want this. No one wants this. It completely ruins the flow of the plays.
All right, listen. We're drama. This is drama, people. Please keep that in mind. We're dramatic for a living.
Oh, me or who? Them?
We're in the theater department. These students are definitely going to write this way because this is what we do.
I mean, yeah. I mean, people write this way. Maybe you don't go over to Facebook, but people are dramatic.
Oh yeah,
humans are nothing if not dramatic.
I've heard that the lid is off now. That we're just going all.
Let me go over to some of the comments. When I wrote this, 119 comments over at LinkedIn.
Wow.
Let's see. Okay, so Damien, he said, respectfully, you can't analogize synths in this argument. Synthesizers don't generate music. They are instruments like any other that require an understanding of music theory and performance, hence the keyboard attached to them. Asking a program trained on existing works to do the work for you does not constitute creativity, says Damien. Thomas here says a traditional synthesizer doesn't create music for you. I think a lot of people misunderstand that, Jamie. You can use an arpeggiator to play the notes of a chord at various speeds and intervals and patterns, and a sequencer to arrange things, but you're still creating it yourself, Jamie. The synthesizer didn't create situations by Yazoo. Vince Clarke and Alison Moyet did. Cool. Dr. Joachim Fox says they're interested, deeply interested. That was nice. Let's see. Okay, this guy, Root Bradford, says, this makes me think of a post I once saw. There was someone gushed about how their child came them asking if they could make a storybook together. So you know what they did? They went to ChatGPT to have it write the story and then had Midjourney create the images to match the output. The author was like, isn't it amazing how we supercharge this activity? Oblivious to how they've wasted an opportunity to spend quality time with their kid, engage their creativity, and build some joyful memories actually doing something together, Jamie. You get the idea.
So when you said before that there might be people who take exception to this idea that you're a songwriter now, you could see there's plenty of people who took exception to that idea right there in the petition, and plenty of people who took exception to that idea in the post on LinkedIn.
Okay, so I am less interested in just fighting people because I think it does no good. Like, I can be like, oh yeah, well, blah, 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 blah. I think I want to spend at least a little time trying to understand where these people are coming from. So I guess I would say that this feels like cheating. This is a pulp fiction at its worst. It is you're pressing a button and getting a result that you had either no contribution with other than make me a song. Like, literally I could say make me a song and it would make you a song. Make me a poem, make me a story. And then what? You get to say, I wrote a story. Like, how that, at what point are they right? Where you didn't create it, you didn't contribute anything, or is the mere fact of pressing the button enough of creation?
In the spirit of what you said, in the spirit of not arguing the point, but rather trying to understand, I definitely agree conceptually that this is not a creative endeavor the same way sitting at a keyboard and plunking notes is perhaps a little bit more creative.
You've created at least one album, right?
Yeah, I've written music.
Yeah. And before AI.
Before AI, I've written music without AI. You know, it's interesting, and it's going to be a tangent. Everything's a tangent to me. But in the composition world, we legitimize composers who don't work at the keyboard.
Really?
If you have to compose at the keyboard, you're an illegitimate composer. You don't know what you're
doing.
You're not hearing the sounds in your head. What's wrong?
They want you to sit at a desk with a pencil?
That's the way. So
only losers sit at keyboards?
What's that?
What? Only losers sit at keyboards to compose?
Well, you know, the epitome is Bach writing the Art of the Fugue completely blind and dictating it to a scribe from his head. Some of the
That's
most
what they want.
Mathematical music ever made was composed completely in one's head and then
Is that the Holy Grail? Is that the Holy Grail?
That's where we're all supposed to be as composers. We're supposed to be able to hear like Beethoven did, the final string quartets. But, you know, tools, that's what we're talking about. Tools. When Pro Tools came out and people were making their own beats, it's like, you're not a musician. When Berkeley said, you can come to school here and not know how to read music, you're not a musician.
Yeah.
There's been gatekeepers forever.
Yeah.
And I say, God bless the gatekeepers.
Well, I mean, the value of a gatekeeper is it keeps the money funneled, right? It keeps the jobs funneled.
Yeah, well, I've been a professional musician all my life, so I'm kicking my own self in the mouth by saying this, but I've never really thought of it as a, you know, smart career choice. It's something that you should consider avocational, a great avocational career, or something to do with your life.
Yeah.
But if you go into music with the idea that I'm going to make my living as a musician, then you might be missing the point.
You have always told me this, and I always have found it amusingly ironic because you've spent your entire life. I don't know if you've ever made a dime outside of music.
Exactly right.
Are you the ultimate gatekeeper, Jamie, of don't go into music?
I'm just the ultimate contradiction, is what I am. It is a landscape that is dictated by the time and place you live in. Like, you know, just by being a 20th century musician, I was afforded the opportunity to consider being a professional musician. Up until that time, historically in the world, there has maybe been 0.2% of the population who's been allowed to consider whether or not they'd like to be a professional musician for a living. It's just, you have to have all the right parameters.
I know.
Are we potentially living in a post-capitalist environment, which is something that would be really different to think about? And like college in general is something really different to think about in 2025 than it was when you and I went to school. And, you know, what was it? We were always told, follow your dream. If you do what you love, you'll never work.
Yeah.
And you can do anything you want. And college was definitely like a hybrid. You're there to figure out how to be a better human being, but also it's supposed to get you closer to your gig, whatever your next job or your real job is going to be, right?
Yeah. Now
we know the myth of that. We know that a lot of college is just set up for making money. I've never been ignorant to that. Even when you and I went to conservatory, I was like, can there really be a conservatory in our small state that's going to produce enough musicians that, you know, how is this field sustainable? I was overwhelmed even back then. I can't imagine how the kids are today.
We had a girl, she was on Broadway. You've done Broadway.
Yeah,
It's happened.
it does happen, and that is the sort of system. And I still don't understand it to this day. It's a system, but of course, there's always going to be people who don't succeed, so to speak. It depends on how you
Most
define
people.
success.
Now, Jamie, what if it's more important than ever to just do what you love? Because
Precisely.
nothing.
Which, this is just going to change everything in the realm, depending on how we end up unrolling AI, using it. Will there be colleges to study musical theater, or would you just simply do what I tell most of my students, which is, just go to Broadway and start auditioning? Or, audition in your community, just do the circuit. Most of the learning in this particular profession is done just like learning is done for a lot of professions, hands-on job learning. College became this buffer place where we, chill our heels. What was the Annie B. Casey Foundation came up with this finding that the prefrontal cortex now in American youth is not fully formed until we're 30. It used to be 25. So,
Is it 30 now?
It's 30 now. So do we
Oh.
just need to spin our wheels for that much longer until we're ready to be adults? I don't know.
My kid at Berkeley, all the big musicians, they go to Berkeley for a couple of years and they get a gig. The graduation rate is surprisingly low at Berkeley because most people just go get a gig.
Right. Why finish your degree if you can work? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So maybe just skip that altogether. Just go to Nashville, go to Broadway, go on YouTube and AI, learn your chord progressions, learn your music theory. It would be better to go play in a band with really good musicians that you love on the weekend than to sit in a practice room at some weird college in the middle of nowhere and learn pedantic music theory.
To each their own. I have a feeling that that is right for somebody, and then the other thing is right for somebody else. It's tricky, right? I do meet people that, like, unless they get guided learning, they're really not interested. Curated guided learning. And then there's other people who are like, no, don't talk to me. Point me to a YouTube video. I'll figure it out.
Yeah. I see that too. Like I work with people, in my work, and I'm like, just go ask AI. And they're like, no, I really want you to show me. Mm-hmm. And then like I get on a call like this and I pull up AI and I'm like, open your start window, go to program, like I just read AI to them, but for some reason they need it, So, okay. So would you say now, like, if you were to open up this, if you were going to think about this petition and your experience you've had, because this petition just came out, right? This was in the last week or so.
Came out like a week ago, yeah.
Yeah. And what was your feeling when you found out there was a petition?
It really was just another brick in the wall of this entire process of like throwing something out there and getting it rejected. And so it really didn't affect me that much personally. And I'm just ready to move on now. I do have a plan for finishing the rest of my time with the grant and the students who are involved. And I still think we have some learning to do. We've just moved past this particular aspect. This little project was just a little side project.
Yeah. So I hear a little maybe sadness in your voice. Is that true?
Resignation, weariness. It's like, in some ways I've pretended to be a cheerleader for portions of AI in order to get students to just engage. And I'm tired of doing that.
Yeah. So wait,
I'm
pretended.
Ambivalent.
So okay, and define ambivalent, because I can never remember.
Ambivalent means I'm undecided. I feel like there's strengths and weaknesses to this whole AI thing, and I continue to investigate for my own satisfaction, but I do not have yet a certifiable opinion on which I'm ready to be quoted.
Very good. So, is
Torn is
there
what it means. I'm ambivalent. I can't decide. I think it's good. I think
torn,
it's bad. I think it's
torn?
awful. I think it's great.
But you said in a couple sentences earlier, you're tired of pretending to be a cheerleader for AI. Is that because you're ambivalent? Like you're not really anti AI, but you're not really pro AI.
I'm not. I'm not either of those things. And so, in order to get students engaged, I've had to more or less be like, this is going to be great. This is going to be fun. AI is great. Look at all the cool things it does. I've enjoyed this too. And some of that is true, and some of it is a little bit like, I'm just putting that on.
You put out quite a few. You have put out quite a few AI created songs.
I have. And just like any other creative endeavor, and I choosing those words in uncarefully, just like any other creative endeavor, it was like for me, there was like a big surge and then like a pull away. And then there's been a few more surges since. I love creating those songs with AI, and I've done them in every possible way I can think, to the point where like I even wrote one, just like wrote all the music for it, recorded it, and then put that into AI, and all it really did was arrange it for me.
So
Which
it
now there is
orchestrated
a
it or
great
something?
use of this tool, because let's say I'm a struggling songwriter. I want to send a song to Joe Schmo to see if he'd be interested in producing it. I can give him a demo that sounds smash versus a demo of my scratchy voice sitting at a keyboard playing wrong notes.
Yeah, I know this composer that I know out in LA. They at Berkeley, you would get to perform a couple of your pieces with the Berkeley Orchestra, and his mom was just so excited because his music got to be performed by an orchestra, which is great.
Yeah,
But I mean, he had to pay $70,000 a year to get like two songs played by an orchestra.
right. You'd be better off hiring an orchestra in Belarus. They're
An
pretty
actual
cheap out
orchestra.
there. An actual orchestra, yeah. You could get a session orchestra full 80-piecer in Belarus for like 20 grand for the day.
And you could have your whole album
You could
performed.
record your whole album. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. See, now doesn't that like stretch your imagination of like, hey man, why don't you just go to Belarus and work with musicians,
I
you
can
know?
just I can make my album with AI right here in my bedroom.
Yeah.
Again, like, music and AI is particularly interesting because musicians have been using internet tools for a long time, software tools for like music notation, but music creation has been we've had our Pro Tools, we've had our GarageBand, we've had any number of DAWs that people use. MuseScore is huge now. How much of that requires music knowledge, and how much of that ends up being the computer guiding you? It's quite a bit of computer guidance in all of these situations. Even
Especially
somebody who's go ahead.
garage band. I mean, so user friendly.
Right. Even something like Finale, where I was using it as a professional to create professional scores. If I were to sit down and write a score, there's a lot of things I don't remember anymore. Do the note heads
Really?
go up or the note heads go down? The score does it for you. So,
Mm.
yes, I know that that's different than AI. I know that's a little different than AI, but at the same time, there's something to this that is like, we've been doing this all along. No one is an island. No one has created anything by themselves.
Yeah. So these students that are right now at least anti AI, do you feel that are they're they are being a little too small minded? Are they being a little too conservative?
No, they're perfect. They're perfect exactly the way they are. I have no reason to believe that they need to learn AI. I used to use that as a reason because, look, it's coming. We all better wrestle with it. But who am I to prognosticate? Maybe it'll all blow over. Maybe the world will erupt by then and it won't matter. Maybe Donald Trump will finally explode, and then we'll all, like, I don't know, be in a different plane of existence. It's really wacky out there right now. So I just don't care to label anybody's, like, if you tell me you think AI is evil and I will not use it, I'm like, dude, I respect you.
So, do you think, what if schools start to require AI in, become an AI, there's going to be an AI technology credit that you have to take? Would you support that?
I probably would. Yeah, I would
Mm.
probably, from a collegiate standpoint, if you're putting your chips in the basket of academia and you're like, I want to advance my life because I want to know more, then knowledge definitely in the 21st century involves AI. Get over it.
So, so the idea that higher education is about being exposed to new ideas, AI is a new idea.
I would hope that higher education still maintains a little inkling of the idea that it's about exposing you to bigger and new ideas. Yeah.
Yeah.
And AI is definitely something that we are wrestling with as the human race. And there is no better place to digest it, to diagram it, to figure it all out than academia, really.
So, in a way, academia is kind of like a safe space for AI.
Could be. Could be. I don't think there are safe spaces anymore, but yeah, it could be.
Hmm.
Maybe there
Yeah.
never were safe
Uh,
spaces per se.
yeah, true. Um, so if you were given the option to run this class again, would you run it again
That's a really interesting question, Sage. I'd like to continue working with the bots.
independently or with students?
Probably independently.
So you do still have some curiosity, truly ambivalent.
Truly
Not,
ambivalent.
yeah, you're like, I'm not going to say I love it, but I'm also not going to say I hate it.
No, and I don't see me resolving this either. It is definitely, if I can say one thing with some kind of definitive nature, like if I can put my foot down on one thing, I do feel like it's a little bit more like pornography. It's something you definitely want to just be doing by yourself. So the idea of working on it with students, it doesn't seem to work as well as like if I'm just creating by myself and I need a little boost, need a little help from something. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm interested in continuing to work on it with myself, but what I find is that either you've got a mind where you want to engage with it and then you will, or you don't, and then you won't.
So is it possibly like you're coming at this more as an artist than an educator? Like you're like, hey man, I get it. You don't want to use AI. You don't want to paint with oils. I get it. Oils suck. They're really messy and hard to work with. I paint with oils, but I understand why you don't. I'm a photographer. I understand why you're not. But I'm not gonna bend over backwards to try to convince you that oil painting is the only way that is something you got to learn as an artist.
No, I've never been like that with any of the styles or genres that I've flirted with. And any of the musicians I've had the fortune to work with in my studio, I've never been an advocate for any one thing. My job hasn't changed at all. I still have students come to my studio and they want to sing songs, and I help them sing them better, and I help them figure out how to research those songs so they understand what the context is, historically, what the styles of music were like, and what was important about that to know, blah, blah, blah. I just do that same thing, and I'll always do that same thing. Whether or not a student wants to use an AI tool to help with that, 10 years ago, I had students who would tell me, stop looking up things in Wikipedia because that's fake news or whatever. And I think Wikipedia is one of the greatest things out there. I donate to Wikipedia
Yeah.
every year. Is there
Hmm.
some fake wrong things on it? For sure. Does Waymo every once in a while go through a stop sign? For sure. Are computers better than human beings? For sure.
Mm.
I think that's the end of the interview.
Bam. Yeah, I don't want to ask any more. That's it. Um,
I'm on side.
I'm
I'm on side robot. Just between you and me.
okay. Well, so I think I am too. Um, if anybody watches this, like if we get 5 or more views,
Hmm.
then and not just us, like you know,
I'm
we
not
don't
watching
count.
this.
No, me neither. Well, no, I do. I'm a pervert. I can't stop watching me and critiquing myself and hating it. Like like it's gross. Anyways, um, uh, maybe we could consider doing another talk. We could start there, or any of those other little lines we started to draw out.
Yeah, let's see
Um,
what kind of comments, if there are any,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
that would certainly
But
dictate.
I'm very thankful that I'm thankful for many things. So, A, that you are an amazing friend, that you're so great. B, you are willing that you were willing to try this and experiment with it and dive in like really head first in a meaningful, sincere way that I don't know how many people at this point in the game have really done. I feel like what you did using these tools was quite avant-garde, quite cutting edge. And today, in next year, this will be something many people have done. But I feel that your experience with these students is very valuable and very telling, something I really didn't anticipate. Would you say that was true, that you didn't anticipate the pushback?
This is all what it's been the most valuable part is just conversation with students. This it's yielded more conversations about what is creation, what is music, blah blah blah. It's the very things that you and I were talking about today in terms of going back to Pythagoras. It's that this is the essence. This is the beauty of college, like potentially. We're not supposed to get out of there and be able to sing 5 songs.
So, what if having AI allows us to really think about what it means to be human? What if we finally have to wrestle with
What it means to
what
be human.
value do I bring
What
to
if
the
having
world?
AI finally allows us to really think about what it means to be?
Yeah. So that could be a good result. We might all starve to death, but in the meantime, but at least we can ponder those ideas.
Well, you've been saying it to me for years that suffering is one of the ways we get to humanity. So
It is true, but it still sucks. Uh,
still suffering.
Suffering still sucks. Still suffer. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's great, but you're gonna hate it. You're amazing. Thank you for this. Thank you for your time. Thank you
Yeah,
for explaining this. I feel like is some valuable wisdom here that maybe other educators could take, maybe some students could ponder, and AI activists could consider. So I really think it is useful, and so thank you, Jamie.
I'll definitely be interested to see what people's thoughts are if anybody managed to listen to all this.
I know. Me too. All right, buddy. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Sage.